All right, we got our first look at the new Knicks in Tuesday night's NBA season opener. So let's talk about this 132-109 loss to the Celtics with the dean of the Knicks film school, Jonathan Macri. Jonathan, what's going on, my man? Really cool event you guys had last night at T Squared Social, bro. Really cool event.
I appreciate it. It was a very cool event. Unfortunately, the game played out in somewhat scary fashion, which is why I'm wearing my Halloween colors for this little spot right now. But I guess we'll talk about that.
All right, let's get into it because assignment 1 of 82 completed. The work was turned in. Give us your grade and your thoughts on the loss, my man.
I got to tell you, as someone who has spent a lot of time teaching in my life, I am a generous grader, but even with my generosity, I'm not sure I could go much higher than a C- or even maybe a D+. I mean, look, I think it is fair to say all the things that people have been saying, which is that this is the best team in the league that they have faced off against, a team that has no chemistry concerns because they've been together for a while, and even for as good as they are and for as well as they usually shoot, they might never have another night where they were hitting as consistently on that high of volume as they were, at least through 3 quarters. So I do want to at least factor all that in. That said, there was a lot that went wrong on the defensive end for New York. Miscommunication, execution, situational awareness that absolutely has to get cleaned up before, ideally, the next game.
Other than the defense, what else worries you most coming out of that loss? And kind of expand and touch on that the defensive worries as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's tough to talk about any game versus the Celtics because they pose matchup challenges and issues that no other team in the league can do, and it's not even only on one end of the floor. Not only do they have 5 guys who are hunting threes, not can shoot threes, they are hunting threes, and then when you talk about them on defense, they could switch 1 through 5 and they have no issues with it. So my fears going forward with the Knicks, I'm confident the Knicks are going to be able to score enough against this team. I thought they actually scored at a decent clip last night, but when they are trying to defend Boston, how do they account for the fact that they have 2 defenders in Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns, who Tom Thibodeau does not want to switch onto Boston's best offensive players? He does not. He wants to keep those guys out of disadvantageous situations. They tried to do that last night. It caused more confusion than it was probably worth. That's the biggest thing coming out of that game because that Boston team, unfortunately, is not going anywhere.
Yeah, you wonder if that confusion is going to get cleaned up as the chemistry gets better. But like we said, man, it's one game. No one's going to panic because this team is full of talent and playmakers. So what were some of your positives on the night?
I'll give you 3. First and foremost, Deuce McBride. It is nothing short of astounding that a player who in his rookie year shot under 30% from the field, under 40% if you're talking about effective field goal percentage, is now going out there and he is gunning like prime Jamal Crawford, Lou Williams type of 6-man. And here's the thing, his efficiency warrants that approach because he was 8 of 10 last night. He's not going to go 8 of 10 every night, but he's shooting as confidently as anybody on that roster. So that's number 1 for me. Number 2, it was great to see Mikal Bridges hit a couple threes in the second half. You have to hope that that's something that he could build on. And then the last thing I would say is Jalen Brunson. Look, Jalen Brunson was 5th in MVP voting last year, so it's not like this is out of nowhere. But I think you saw the Knicks' plan of opening up space in the middle of the court by bringing in Karl-Anthony Towns. I think you saw that plan kind of come into fruition in a lot of ways. Brunson, not that he can't make tough baskets, but I thought he had a couple of forays into the paint towards the rim that he just wasn't getting those last year. So the more easier buckets, nothing's ever going to come easy against Boston, but easier buckets you could get for Brunson against any team is a bonus.
You mentioned Deuce McBride. He said that's not how you come into a new year and set the tone when it comes about the team effort. But for him individually, that's the way you come into a new year and set the tone. So the Pacers come to town on Friday. They're coming to the Garden. Did your expectations change for the home opener after that loss?
Not too much, again, I think because a lot of those issues are unique to Boston. That said, Boston was the best offense in the league last year. Indiana was the second best. And they do a lot of the same sorts of things that Boston is able to do as far as confusing you. I think the one difference is that the Pacers, when they are on defense, they're not as strong as Boston. They don't feel comfortable switching everything. So I think the Knicks are going to have a little bit of an easier time maybe generating some open looks from three, even though I know the Pacers don't like to give up a lot of threes. That's part of their game plan. So it'll be interesting how the Knicks approach offense. And then defensively, at least now there's one game of tape, to go off of. There's a game of tape in which everybody could see this is what we did wrong, because it doesn't take a Tom Thibodeau or an NBA head coach to watch the film of this one and see some glaring issues. The hope just has to be that the communication gets a little bit better, the execution gets a little bit cleaner, and maybe being in their home building will be the lucky charm here.
Real quick hypothetical, with all the talent that's on this roster, let's say, or new talent that's on this roster, let's say they do get off to a slow start. How much patience do you think the fan base is going to have with this squad?
Not much. Not much, because I think, you're the guy that I would have said, well, the fan base is going to be okay with him no matter what, is Mikal Bridges, because he comes with this reputation as a guy who is just so solid on both ends. He makes tons of winning plays. And with this shot issue, if that continues, I think that's going to be a cause of consternation, which is one of my favorite words when I talk about when the fan base gets a little upset. And then the Towns piece. Now, I thought Towns played okay last night. Obviously, he made a lot of mistakes on the defensive end. I think he'll clean those up. But there is already a healthy amount of skepticism about the trade that brought in Towns and sent out Randall and DiVincenzo, because there is this perception that they have traded away their identity in making that deal. So if they, start off and they're hovering around 500 after, even 10 or so games, and it's a tough first 10 games. I sitting here right now, I'll tell you, I would sign for 6-4 after 10, given how things look last night. I'm not sure how many fans are going to be willing to accept that level when there was talk of a championship before the season started.
Fan base really giving them a New York minute to get this thing going. Jonathan, tell the people they can find you, man. Shout out the platform.
Yeah, absolutely. So Knicks Film School for all of your Knicks needs. We got the newsletter on Substack that I write 5 days a week and occasionally on the weekends, plus our YouTube channel, podcast network. We have a Patreon if you're in for the mood for some bonus content. And just go ahead and follow all of our guys on social media. They do great work. DJ Zulo and Benji Ridholtz has some great film stuff out on Twitter today. So, yeah, Knicks Film School is the name, and we will be at it for all the rest of the 82 and hopefully a couple more after that.
There we go, man. And let me know when we got another watch party. I'll get a babysitter for the entire night this time. All right, man. Thanks for having me on with this.